Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? It's Yoshinator195 coming at you with another Black Ops 6 old school gaming commentary. And in today's episode, my biggest problem with university, aka lectures. This is for all the university students out there. But I want to talk about my time at university doing chemical engineering, and I guess the biggest shock for me when it came to learning, and maybe this may be a shock to you and you're just finding out now between school and university, is how boring can lectures be? Which to me was like the biggest problem I had, because I just could not sit there and listen to someone for 50 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. And there's a couple exceptions where there was 3-hour lectures. And they have some breaks in there. But whoever thought freaking 3-hour lectures was a good idea should be shot in the back of the head. Because I know who thinks of them. It's like people like, I don't know if it's engineers, like, I'm just going to like, how can I be very efficient with my time? Because a lot of professors, they're not skilled teachers. They're just smart people that is part of their residency or part of their grants and job description at university, they got to teach. Sorry, you got to take some unit, and they're like, oh my god, I got to teach these kids. All right, let's just get it over with, and they cram like a 2-hour, 3-hour lecture. But I don't know if it's like the mode of learning, and there's research into you can look up a Veritasium video and are you a visual learner, and it kind of disproves that you are not a visual learner. Like, you're not this, you're not a kinetic learner, you're not a person that reads or writes, you're not a person that learns by listening, all this thing. It's like you're a mixture of everything. I contest that in the sense that I don't care who you are, unless you are like an exceptional TED talker. You're like the Steve Jobs of presentations. You cannot learn as well by listening compared to if you read and wrote notes on the subject that you're trying to learn. Because that's the way I learned things. And that's from high school. You do a bit of listening to the teacher, and the best teachers essentially should present you instructions and an example for 10, 15 minutes, but then they let you do the work. They go away, or they observe you working, they supervise. And my maths teacher, genius guy in year 12, he knew like we were pretty studious and we weren't messing around, so he could do this, but he'd be like, sit down, shut up, you know what to do, there's the work for today on the board. And like we would read it, or like he might help us out for 5 minutes at the beginning, or it was a concept that we had learned yesterday, and now this one was just an extension of it. But he just let us supervise, so he just let us go off while he supervised, and then we just sat and did the work. Like that was like my dream. Like I talk a little bit, talk with my friends, but then I focus. I just learned so much more by reading and writing, compared to like, there's a difference between like you're just listening, or like you're just hearing someone talk, but you're not actually like understanding. It's not going into your brain, because it's challenging. Like, it makes sense for the person talking, but it doesn't make sense for you. And I love that people like, they're like, I don't get why you don't get this. Like, I'm explaining it perfectly to you. Because you read and wrote about it, and you understood this topic long before you came to me, and you're just telling me out loud, but you've done the work. You didn't learn this the way I'm trying to learn it right now. So, man, lectures, I'm sure there's like 10% of kids that just absolutely love them. But for me, the university drop-off between that first week or 2 weeks, where everyone's gone to lectures in the first 2 weeks, like, gotta go to the lectures, and then you just see less and less and less and more. Because people, I think, also realize like, man, this lecturer sucks. I'm not getting any value from this. I'd just rather like read his notes. And then I've seen like some lecturers like just giving lectures till absolutely like empty university rooms. And they're complaining like, oh my God, these kids these days, I don't know why people aren't coming. They're not going to learn anything. And they're like blaming the young adults, the kids, why they're not coming to their boring lectures. It's easy enough for me to say this as a kid, but I've had good lectures out there, lecturers that are just so charismatic, and the way they describe their notes, and they may allow for pauses, some basic examples of teaching where they're like, I don't know, maybe they're a bit more seasoned, they know what works. And I'm like, thank you. You're so refreshing compared to the 90% of lecturers that I've had are just horse shit. And to a certain extent, I also don't blame them in the sense that, unlike teachers at high school, they weren't trained to do this. Pure and simple. And then my biggest problem with universities is like, I think they go through some sort of like course, very short course or structure to like be able to, take on a lecture in class. But for the most part, they don't go through like 2 years or 3 years of a degree where they do prac like a high school teacher would do, and they get feedback, supervision from people on what they did wrong and all this stuff. At least to my understanding, please correct me if I am wrong. If that's the case and they're still dog shit lecturers, then I have absolutely no clue what the reason is. Then their training is horrible, because for the most part, what I've seen is they're just smart people. And I know they're smart people. They've got genius in their brain. They just have absolutely no clue how to communicate it. And it's frustrating for me seeing bad communication, because I don't know, I think it's a bit of an art form, and there's a science to it. And when I see bright-minded people, a lot of smart engineers, not being able to talk to people who don't know anything about engineering, but it affects them, and they need to know about it, it's just like far out. Like, how can you be like so illiterate verbally, if that's even a combination, to be like you're not being able to communicate your ideas? And like, man, if there's one thing I would change about university is like the way lectures are structured. Sure, you need to cater to the masses. You need to have like 100 kids in your hall. Fine. But break it down dot by dot point and allow for pauses. Allow them to tackle on a question to do so. Work through a textbook or something like that. Because, man, what I ended up doing is I just stopped kind of going to lectures for the most part. Just take notes from the PowerPoint slides and then read a textbook if I needed to. But predominantly I just use their course materials. And I think the times that I went to a tutorial with some like university student, I was like a postdoc who looked after it, those tutors, those are way more useful and engaging, because they would talk a lot about a problem, but then they'd go through and go around, and like a tutor kind of help you out to figure out, do you know how to do this problem? What are you stuck at? What are you stuck on? And you could ask people in that class. It's like a smaller environment. Why can't that be more of a thing? I'm more for like as much of a tailored learning experience you can get. And I know there's restrictions to that, and there's trade-offs. You need to cater for big masses, but taking like just being given verbal diarrhea and being expected to understand that and think that's like people are like, well, people listen to audiobooks. Yeah, because they're catered perfectly. And sometimes you ever listen to an audiobook and you've zoned out because it's, sometimes can get boring, and you just find yourself, people put audiobooks to make them sleep. Literally, people I've done it. And I use podcasts to help me sleep. Why would you expect the lecture to not be any different in that sense? It's going to put people to sleep. So I'll wrap it up here. Let me know down in the comments below if you found the same experience when you've come to university, coming from high school, or maybe maybe it's just me. Maybe you're like, you know what? My lectures are fine. I didn't do engineering. All my lecturers are freaking awesome. I did, nursing, and it was fantastic. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I just want to know the debate on this stance. Do you find the listening experience at university conducive, or do you find it to be an absolute drag, and it's damn right inconducive. What's the opposite of conducive? Not conducive. I'm losing my verbal diarrhea here. Hopefully this hasn't been verbal diarrhea. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.